the results look pretty good. I think it feels natural, right? Let me separate these two from each other. Put this to the side for now. But you can see this is pretty natural. It's thin in some areas, but overall it's really pretty consistent with the rest of the wrap as far as thickness goes. And I could definitely test the thickness. So the wrap itself has a thickness of 0.08 and the fill has a thickness of 0.08. Look at this. And in neighboring area 0.08. So it's all 0.08, right? It's really worked well, I think, in my opinion, and it's foldable. I mean, the color doesn't match well, but I don't care at this point. I just wanted to test it, right? Foldable, you know. Am I right? Am I right? Look at that. I'm not going to give you a hard time folding. It's not thick. It's the same consistency as the remainder of the cover. Just the color could be a bit more harmonious with the rest. So this is one. This is the other one I did. Same thing. Hydrogen bonding is very strong. Right? Not going to go anywhere. And as far as thickness, again, should be pretty consistent. So this is reduced. So the wrap is 0.08 and this is 0.09, 0.10, 0.07, so it's pretty consistent. Very pleased with this. Again, you can fold it and it blends really well with the remainder. If you can get the color to match perfectly, then you have no issues with applying pulp that sticks and has the same thickness as the rest. So the grammage, or as Dr. Paul said, grammage, really is a good way of figuring out the thickness of the pulp on these wraps. And these are the rest, which I didn't show on camera, but you can see the same thing. You just need to put them in order and trim them, and there's a tail here. Some of them look thicker because the area, I applied the same amount of pulp in all of them. But as far as hydrogen bonding and stability and the way you fold them, they all fold really nice. And they look natural as far as the thickness goes, right? So, did the experiment work? 100%. So next thing we're gonna do is put these together, right? First I'm gonna trim them, put the book together, put the staples in, and then press it and see how it looks like and measure, do some additional measurements. But I'm very pleased, very, very pleased. So if you look, the average weight of a wrap went down by a small amount. It went from 4.45 grams to 4.41 grams. Not significant in my opinion. So even though we added 0.02 gram of pulp to each wrap, you would expect the weight to go up here, but it didn't go up. Stayed at lower value. That's because you get dirt and water right out of these wraps, and that probably accounts for the difference here that you're seeing. So as far as the numbers go, they look different, but actually what the data is telling you, it's about 4.5 grams, right, is the average weight of each wrap. All right, so I'm gonna assemble the book off camera. I have the staples here and just ready to go. The book looks really great as far as the bottom chewed part. It's all taken care of on every single page and really looks good. No question, the thickness here, once I press it and everything, we'll take a look at some measurements and see if the thickness here and here are the same, almost the same, right? They're going to be exact, but they're going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be pretty much within the same range, right? All right. Good morning, early in the morning. I'm ready to head to work. I figured I'll just take a look at the book. It's been in the press overnight. Look at that. Very simple pressing does wonders to comic books, right? Look at that. Leave it here like this, and so you can see it better. And you can see the leaf casting here. Flip through it, and you can see the repair here I did. It's flipping very naturally. It doesn't distract from the book. I wish the color was better, but that's not an issue for conservation, right? Look at that. Perfectly holding, turning, not thick, the same consistency as the rest of the book. Centerfold here. The other side. Comics are wonderful, aren't they? And Archie comics, they're cheap. You could buy them, you could practice on them. For the most part, they're great reads, you know, if you want to sit down and lose yourself for about 10 minutes, this is it. You know, I still have the staining here. I'm not going to treat this. I just did a very quick cleaning, and you can see that the book is in excellent condition now compared to before, and you don't see this anymore. So let's see now if we can measure the thickness of the top versus the bottom, which is not very scientific because you don't want to squeeze, you want to try to squeeze them the same. So just 1.62 on this. Let's see on this, probably going to be a bit more, 1.99, almost 2.0. All right, so it gained a little thickness, which is kind of expected, but not much. Right? How does it look this way? Look at it. Right? Consistent all throughout. No extra thickness. Looks nice and readable. Flippable. Right? And the repairs were done great. Some I put between plexiglass to get them nice and smooth, like this one here. Some I didn't, and you can see the difference. Like look at this here versus say this one here, right? I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is rougher, a bit rougher. So Really nice. I am convinced that with leaf casting, the proper amount of pulp need to be added. So when you measure the amount of pulp after you calculate the grammage, try to err on the plus side of adding the pulp, because some of that pulp, when you process it with the blender, it's going to be stuck to the blender and you might lose some of the fibers. So if you err on the plus side, you're gold, right? So the measurements matched, and the thickness here is equivalent to the thickness here, and you can see it, right? There's a little difference between here and here, and that's expected. Otherwise, it looks really nice and tight, right? So I'm very pleased. I think it really did work well as an experiment. Calculation-wise, I'm gonna do the math on Excel so I can have an Excel sheet ready for me to plug in the numbers once I do the measurements. All you need is really the weight and the dimensions, right? Once you have those, you can plug them into the program on Excel, and Excel will return for you the amount you need, right? The amount of pulp you need. So that's the way to go, right? In the future, instead of like having to reinvent the wheel every single time, just have these Excel sheets ready for you, right? You do them once, it's a pain to do, but you know, after that, it's not difficult, right? And then you weigh the amount of pulp you need, you mix it with the amount of water, make sure that the amount of pulp and water is always going to be consistent for the amount you're going to be adding here. And again, err on the plus side when you weigh your pulp, because some of that pulp is going to be adhering to the blender, and you're going to lose some of the pulp that way. So you don't want it to be too thin, you want it to be as thin as the rest of the wraps. But it's otherwise, this book now looks like to be in a, I would say, fine condition, right? If you were to grade it to with CGC, it would probably come back as a conserved mid-grade, right? About maybe a 5.0. And I would say job well done here. It really is a nice match.